gorgeous, welcome back to the makeup aisle. Today's video is going to be a tutorial, kind of get ready with me on this look you see right here. I am using this awesome collection from Strobe Cosmetics that's called the Bay of Dragons. If you are a huge Game of Thrones fan, then you got that right off the bat. It's basically 3 colors named for our 3 dragons. So this is Rhaegal, which is the green, Viserion, which is the white, and then Drogon, which is kind of the reddish black. So the back of the card reads, a collection of 3 shimmering eyeshadows inspired by our favorite dragons. Rhaegal is an olive green with a coppery gold shift. Viserion is a creamy white with an intense gold shift. And Drogon is a black-based red with a coppery red shift. As soon as I got the email that these were going to be available, and this was before the start of this past season, I was like, yes, I need them. I am an avid, like, super duper Game of Thrones fan. I have already read the books a long time ago. I am actually going to reread them and never ever ever miss an episode, no matter what. So I knew that I had to use this in a look for you today. So we'll go through the look, and I use all 3 shadows. As you can see, I have Viserion on the inner third, I have Rhaegal in the middle, and then I have Drogon on the outer corner of the eye. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. So I've already primed both eyes, both eyelids with my Smashbox 24-hour primer. I've also set down that primer with my Milani Bella Eyes shadow in Bella Cappuccino. I like this because it is pretty much, it almost sinks into my skin tone, so I love it just to set the primer without adding any extra color. So we're going to start with carving out the crease above the natural crease. I am going to grab my Sigma Tapered Blending E40, which I normally do. I'm going to start by going into the Femme Rosa palette. This is by Karrueche and Colourpop, and this is what it looks like. Excuse me, that's her most recent collaboration with Colourpop. So what I'm going to do to start out carving that crease, I'm going to go into the second shade here, which is Damsel, and that is a matte. As you can see, it really didn't take a lot. I just kind of wanted to carve out the crease. I will be adding a darker color up there once after I put the shimmers on the lid. So we're going to actually roll right into the shimmers. We're going to start with Viserion, which is this shade right here. It is a gorgeous iridescent white, so I am going to grab my MAC Fix Plus because I definitely want a little extra shine in all of these shadows. So I am going to pick those up with my Sigma E58, which is a cream color blush, but I like it because it's very flat. So we're going to go ahead and pick up the Viserion, and I'm going to put that on the third inner part of the lid. Next, we're going to pick up Rhaegal, which is this absolutely gorgeous green, and we're going to put that on the inner part of the lid. Now, as you can see, I am taking it a little bit into Viserion there because I want these to, you know, show their colors in their certain places where I put them, but I also want them to mesh really well. And this shadow is just doing a really, really good job of going into that white without kind of overpowering where I place it. So today is Sunday. It's the first Sunday without Game of Thrones. The season 7 season finale was last week, and I'm kind of to the point that it's like, what am I supposed to do once this show completely finishes? It is one of my absolute favorite shows, hands down. I love fantasy, so I love like all of the Lord of the Rings movies. The Hobbit movies, absolutely loved all of them. And Game of Thrones was one of those shows where right from the beginning, I was hooked. I watched it from the word go and was absolutely immersed in the world and, you know, all the families and all the backstabbing and all of that. And at that point, I started reading the books and was very much into the books. They can get a little confusing as you continue on reading them, but you know, once you kind of start seeing the show and reading a lot of the fan theories before they actually made anything known, it kind of comes together. And it's one of those book series that I am going to go back and reread, even though it's one of those things like The Hobbit. I read that in high school. It is so unbelievably annoying to read that book because there's just so much with the language and the names and stuff that you just can't pronounce, and you're just like, what the hell is going on? But it's one of those series that once you kind of get past that, it is just so excellent. So I can't wait to reread that. And then I'm going in with Drogon, which is this color right here. It's like a reddish black. I actually dropped this and it broke a little bit, so I've got to be careful with it. But I am going to put that on the outer third of the eye. I'm bringing it out a bit, but I'm going to clean all that up anyway, so anything that's kind of overlapping at the end there will get cleaned up. So I'm just doing to the other eye what I did to the first eye there, is just kind of rolling it into the green and then bringing it out to the outer V, and then a little bit out past that. Because I'm going to clean this up, so it may look crazy now, but it won't for long. So I think I knew kind of going into the season that we were probably going to lose a dragon, because why not? It's Game of Thrones. They literally like to take your heart and just beat the shit out of it, throw it out, put it back together, and then rip it out of your chest and completely stomp on it again. So I wasn't really expecting anything different than something that was going to be pretty heartbreaking, really, when you kind of were said and done with it. So I am just blending up top, especially with this darker color Drogon on the side here, or on the corner. I'm going to really blend that out because that is a little stronger than the other two. And now I'm just grabbing a diffused crease E38 brush from Sigma. Then I'm going to go into the white and green and then just kind of blend those up just a bit. I didn't want to use the same brush to blend Drogon and then Saharan and Rhaegal, because the Drogon is much darker. But I still want to blend it a bit so that the lines aren't harsh. I want it a little softer up top and a little more blown out. Then before I actually continue the top of the eyes, I'm going to clean up on the bottom here and start sharpening up this line. It's something I do towards the end, but I kind of want to see it a little more put together than what it looks here, because it looks pretty messy. So I went ahead and cleaned up underneath and then just softened up the sides just a bit more, so that they weren't so pointed like on the corners there. I didn't want it that way because the that red black is pretty apparent when you're just looking at me kind of straight ahead. So what I'm going to do to actually kind of buff that out a little more and to add a transition shade is I am going to go in with this shade right here, which is Missy. It's a matte, and I am going to use my E40 brush, and I'm just going to use that to blend it out. To highlight the brow bone, I am actually going to go in with Viserion. If you've seen any of my tutorials, I don't really go in with sparkly whites, but because this is an homage to our fallen Viserion, I'm going to go ahead and use that shade underneath the brow bone. And then I'm going to clean up just a little more under the eyes in case we had any additional fallout. Then I'm going to do my liner. I'm going to do that off camera just to save some time, and then I'll be back to finish off the rest of the face. So I've done my winged liner. We're going to go ahead and finish the rest of the face. So for corrector today, I am going to be using my Urban Decay Naked Skin Corrector in Dark Peach. I'm sure you're probably tired of seeing this, but I really do love this. Then I'm just going to take my dry Real Technique sponge and I am going to press that into the skin. And I knew I forgot a step, so I am going to go ahead and prime my skin. I'm using the BECCA Ever Matte Poreless Priming Perfector, which I'm sure you're tired of seeing that as well, but I absolutely live for this primer, especially during the warmer months, because it really does help to mattify my oily skin. Then for foundation today, I'm actually going to be mixing two. They are both the Makeup Forever Ultra HD, so I'm going to be mixing Y445 and also Y415. These are just some deluxe samples that I'm trying to use up before I go ahead and purchase the full size. So I'm going to be mixing these two and then I will apply it on my face. So I'm just using my Real Techniques Expert Face Brush to kind of mix that up and then apply it onto the skin, and then I will go over it with a damp beauty blender. Then for concealer today, I'm going to be using my NARS Soft Matte Concealer. Surprise, surprise. I just love the way this concealer looks. It is so full coverage and so smooth and soft under the eyes. It has quickly become my favorite over even the Tarte Shape Tape, which once that came out was absolutely, it was one of those things where it just changed the game of concealer. It's so full coverage and it's still a wonderful concealer. I absolutely love it, but I really love the NARS Soft Matte better. And then to set the concealer underneath the eyes, I'm going to be going in with my Anastasia Banana Powder. Then to set the rest of the face, I'm going to be going in with my Lottie London Ready Set Go Matte Translucent Finishing Powder. And this is in warm translucent, so it's not really white on the skin. And I just think it fits my skin tone much better. And really a little bit is all you need, so I'm just taking a small amount and swirling it into the cap. Then we're going to go ahead and finish off the bottom of the eyes. I am not going to go in and do the white, green, and the reddish black like I have up top. I'm just going to use one color, which I think I'm going to go in with Drogon, because the red, I think it's just going to be really nice underneath the eyes. Also too, with fall coming up, I think that's a really nice shade to use under there. So I am going to be using my E15, which is my flat definer brush from Sigma, to go ahead and put Drogon actually on the lash line. So once I have Drogon on the lash line, I'm going to go back into the Femme Rosa palette that I have here, and I'm going to go into the purple Missy, which I used up top to kind of just blow this out and soften it up a bit. So I'm going to be grabbing my Morphe E36 brush, which is what I normally use to kind of buff out that lower lash line. So I'm going to go ahead and tightline the bottom waterline, and then we're going to go ahead and use Viserion to highlight the inner corner of the eye. So I'm going to use my Real Techniques smudge brush, and I'm going to pick up Viserion, and we're going to pop that right in the inner corner. Definitely pops the inner corner beautifully. I love how that looks. And basically it's just an extension of what we had on that inner corner. To bronze today, I am going to be using my Too Faced Dark Chocolate Soleil bronzer. And I'm going to be using a BH Cosmetics 114 brush, which is really fluffy, but small enough that I can keep control of where I'm putting this bronzer. Then for blush today, I'm going to be going into the Saharan Blush Palette Volume 2 from Juvia's Place, and I'm going to pick up this shade right here, B, which is absolutely gorgeous. And speaking of Game of Thrones, I'm looking at this blush palette, and this top shade up here is called Yara. So it kind of gets me thinking about what's going to happen next season with her, because this season we saw that her brother Theon was going after her. He was going to go back to King's Landing to save her because she was the only one that went to save him when he was a prisoner of Ramsay Bolton. So that was a really nice storyline, I think, to see that he kind of grew a set of balls, ha ha, hardy har har, and decided that he was going to go back and try to rescue her because, again, she was the only one who tried to rescue him, and she would have succeeded had he not been so mentally tortured and so mentally beat down by Ramsay. She would have succeeded in what she set out to do. And even though their father wanted to leave him there, she said, absolutely not. He is one of us. He is my brother regardless of where he grew up, because he did grow up in Winterfell as kind of a warden of the Starks. She didn't care. He was still Ironborn. So I'm glad that they kind of went back to her to kind of pick up to see what happened to her, because she's not dead. So I like her very much. She's one of those characters that has grown on me quite largely over the last like 2 seasons. So for highlight, I'm going to go in with my LA Girl Strobe Light Strobing Powder, and this is 110 watt, which is very, very pigmented. Some other storylines from this past season, especially towards the end, we see that Jaime has kind of had it and is fed up with Cersei's shit, because she is absolutely manipulative. And although he does love her, which is pretty skeevy, he's kind of finally seeing her for what she is. And I'm glad that he up and left King's Landing. So a lot of people have, I know I have my theories about him going to Winterfell, because that's where he's headed. A lot of people say that he is going to be the one to kill Cersei because of her prophecy that she was going to be killed, in essence, basically by a younger brother. So people are thinking that it's him because even though they are twins, he is younger than her by several minutes. And I don't think that Tyrion killing her, even though it would be something that I think most people would want to see, I don't think that Tyrion killing her would necessarily have the same effect as Jaime killing her, only because they have shared literally an intimate relationship. They've shared children. And so I think that it would be much more, I think the impact would just be bigger for the viewer, and not only for the viewer, but also for him. So a lot of people think that he might commit suicide after he kills her. A lot of people think that he's going to kill her, but it's actually going to be Arya wearing his face. So that kind of got me thinking that he's on his way to Winterfell to help fight the undead and the whites. And I'm like, that would be a perfect opportunity for Arya to kill him, steal his face, go back to King's Landing, and choke the life out of Cersei, because even though she's wearing his face, it's kind of like he's still doing it. Plus, Arya owes her a hell of a lot for all the shit that Cersei has done to Arya's family. So that's another kind of storyline where you don't know where it's going to go. You know, will the fan favorite theory make it through? Is this what the author had in store for her from the beginning? You know, it's like time will only tell. So for lips today, I am using my Deck of Scarlet One Stroke Graphic Lip Crayon in Mia. And I've used this before, and I've talked about this before. It is one of my favorite lip colors, hands down. Then what I'm going to do, just to kind of lighten up the shade a bit, I'm going to go in with my Bare Minerals gloss in Sugar. This is just a small one. This was like a set that came together, but I just want to kind of pinky up the color a bit. So I am going to pop on some false lashes, and then I'll be back in just a moment. So I went ahead and popped on some false lashes, and that completes the look using the Bay of Dragons set from Strobe Cosmetics. I just think it's so fitting, especially since this is the first Sunday without my beloved Game of Thrones. Our 3 dragons now down to 2, although we still do have Viserion around. But this not only was kind of a quick tutorial slash look, but also an homage to Viserion, who fell a few weeks ago to the Night King and now is an ice dragon, although he is breathing blue fire, has taken down the wall, and the dead, or the undead, I guess, and the White Walkers are making their way towards kind of the inner portion of Westeros. Make sure that you leave your comments down in the comment bar. Also, any theories that you might have for the upcoming season, any questions you may have about seasons past, or just to express a love of Game of Thrones. Like myself, I absolutely love this show. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click that little bell so you get alerted as to whenever I upload new videos. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!